Let's talk about Canada, our communist neighbors to the north. Some might say it's America's hat. I say it's Mark's Carney's time. That's right. The Liberal Party has gotten a resounding victory last night at the Canadian elections. A real country, by the way, not fake. I know, I checked.
I've been warning for months. America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. We are once again at one of those hinge moments of history. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal.
How are the markets not crashing? Does this whole financial system just run on hopium? Yes. Yes. No, literally. Like it's just vibes. It's all vibes based. And it's not even like an accurate assessment of the vibes. They just want to feel like it's good, and that's it.
But we should never forget the lessons.
But you're going to take us forward.
We have to look out for ourselves. And above all, we have to take care of each other.
Did this guy do blackface too? Unfortunately, he did not, which is why he's unqualified.
And my message to every Canadian is this: no matter where you live, no matter what language you speak, no matter how you voted, I will always do my best to represent everyone who calls Canada home.
Breaking overnight this stunning political comeback thanks to and at the expense of President Trump. Canada's Liberal Party, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, declared victory overnight despite being really left for dead.
Why do you hate Canada so much? I get it. But like, we have nowhere to look for any news, though. Someone being a dick about it. Wait, what? I don't hate Canada. What the is wrong with you? If anything, I'm just jealous. But I am annoyed by the same fawning pieces that were written in 2016? Like whenever Trudeau popped off, like all of the Trudeau was seen as like as a counter to Donald Trump, and it was in the aftermath. In 2015, yes, there was a lot of fawning pieces, but in the aftermath of the Trump victory, those pieces elevated. Okay, people were going crazy over Justin Trudeau and talking about how he is like a perfect. I even entertained it. How he was such a perfect counter to the madness that Trump presented. And I feel like that is what's going on again. That's what's happening right now. People are just like jumping on the Carney train pretty hard. And I mean, he is objectively better than PP, right? Like that's not even a question. He's objectively better than PP. I mean, that's not even a question. Like PP sucks. Pierre Polar Bear. So we shall see. You know, I'm never going to jump on board with like a liberal W to be like, it's over. This is such a major victory, in the same way that like, regardless of my assessment of Kamala's chances, like I wasn't excited. I gave an interview to Newsweek in the lead up to the election where I talked about how even if Donald Trump loses and Kamala Harris wins, like I am not excited about the future of America, because Donald Trump has been able to successfully rebuild American politics in his vision. And that it's just the same principle here with Carney. Not to like yuck your yum, Canadians. Like you got a stay of execution, right? You got a stay of execution, and you should celebrate PP losing his seat. You should celebrate the Conservatives taking an L, especially because a couple months ago, Justin Trudeau was so unpopular. Justin Trudeau was so goddamn unpopular that it looked like Conservatives were going to win, right? And then Donald Trump came out and saved your country. Saved your country by being a repulsive little freak that kept entertaining the notion of permanent military annexation of Canada, which was insane. And then the Liberals did the right thing and they got Justin out and they put this dude in his stead. And very quickly, there was a massive jump in the polls. Like it was insane. Having said that, I'm not going to I understand the excitement, right? This is your moment to celebrate for sure. But if you think this is going to lead to like a Canadian socialist project, it's not going to happen.
Several months ago, but then Donald Trump took office, targeted Canada with tariffs, and threatened to annex it as the 51st state.
America.
I will say it's awesome that a dude whose only ambition was to win this race since the age of 20, like a guy who basically designed his entire life around this race that he just lost, who's never had a real job, who basically rebuilt his own image in the process, a guy who has only been a politician for this purpose, got his pushed in crazy style as a direct consequence of Donald Trump and his associations with Donald Trump. I'm sorry. That is spectacular. That is amazing. And now he's unemployed. That is a real moment for excitement and celebration. What a fumble, dude. What a goddamn fumble. Jordan Peterson's probably crying since this Marxist regime has come back to Canada after years of Justin Trudeau's Che Guevaran style governance where they executed people for transgender crimes in broad daylight. That's right. If you were compelled to correctly gender someone and refused bravely, Justin Trudeau's militants would send you to the Gulag Archipelago and shoot you in the back of the head. And now Marx Carney will follow the same agenda of socialist violence.
Wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us.
Pierre Pepe went from fully guaranteed to be prime minister to losing his own seat. Insane turnaround. Excellent turnaround. You will never catch me not celebrating a conservative dickhead taking the fattest L of all time. Okay, that is something that I will always be on board with. I will always celebrate that. I'm petty as I don't give a shit.
That will never ever happen.
That was the main campaign issue, and this is what Donald Trump has said about Canada over the last several months.
And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. If we make it in the United States, we don't need it to be made in Canada. We'll have the jobs. That's why Canada should be our 51st state. So when I say they should be a state, I mean that. I really mean that. Because we can't be expected to carry a country. I do like the OCAN.
Borders are scars against the face of the earth. All borders require the violence of their maintenance. Folks, we must abolish borders. No gods, no masters, and no more borders. Folks, believe me, have you read this book? They're calling it the bread book. They're saying there's no end to exploitation until full appropriation. We must take over all of the lands that are owned in the hands of private capital. No more enclosures. Kropotkin. It's amazing. He endorsed himself the day of the election. Good luck to the great people of Canada. Elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world, have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes. If Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America, no more artificially drawn line from many years ago, look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border, All positives with no negatives. It was meant to be. America can no longer subsidize Canada with the hundreds of billions of dollars a year that we have been spending in the past. It makes no sense unless Canada is a state.
Canada, right? It's a beautiful thing. I think we're going to have to keep it for the 51st state. I call him Governor Trudeau.
It's quite literally like all of this stuff is directly the reason why Marx Carney won. Oh my God, I keep saying Marx Carney. It's gonna stick. It's like when I said Keir Stalin. Keir Stalin, Marx Carney. That's right. Karl Marx Carney. Marx Carney. That's right. More like Marx Carney. Folks, it's happening. Canada is becoming a part of the CCP. Liberals to the north, Mexicans to the south. Trump can't imagine a worse world. Yeah, the difference is I think he hates liberals more than he hates Morena. He likes Claudia Sheinbaum. He has said that he respects Claudia Sheinbaum on numerous occasions. I think part of that is because she plays ball, and so did AMLO with the immigration stuff. And they just basically let them do welfare state as a benefit, as a present, as a gift. They were like, oh, if you keep migrants inside of Mexico rather than allowing them to travel into the United States, then we'll let you do welfare in your country. We'll give you like a little bit of autonomy as a treat. And he also likes Claudia because she's popular, and Trump loves popular leaders.
Mark Carney is a Harvard-educated economist with a master's degree and doctorate from Oxford University. He's also a former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. So how will he likely take on Donald Trump and his tariffs? And how will he prevent a recession in Canada?
Bro,
well, that's remarkable.
Canada is so libtarded, by the way. Like the idea of like, oh, we have a smart banker who's not going to fuck up the economy. It's like classic. You don't need to have just a smart banker to not do Trump, okay? Anyway, once again, not enough robust or viable alternatives, and you get Mark Carney, also known as Marx Carney, also Mr. Pro-China, apparently, so who knows? Who knows where that goes, you know? It's the smart bankers that fucked up the West. Okay, it's the smart bankers that created the economic instability that led to Donald Trump. Make no mistake, okay? It is all the smart and efficient bankers that deregulated finance, that unleashed the markets, if you will. Make no mistake.
He's an Oxford-educated banker. He's just the sort of people that the populace would target. That is quite remarkable. Hardly an ordinary man of the people, but nevertheless, he speaks with some authority, and at a time of uncertainty like this, people are looking for somebody who doesn't have political experience, but has a lot of credibility and has run 2 central banks. The challenges facing the country are enormous. Even without the threat from President Trump, there are problems with growth, problems with productivity, there are problems with inflation and the cost of living. And these are big problems, and Canada's dependence on energy is in some sense a strength, but it's also a weakness at a time when we're supposed to be transitioning to net to zero. As far as Trump is concerned, this is a huge challenge. Carney has certainly been able to speak up.
But that's not Carney, you moron. Canada did not go into economic depression when the States did in 2008 because of him. No, it's the same school of thought across the board. It's just a defensive posture towards deregulation, even though from what I've seen of Carney's own words, he seemingly is against that. The whole market fundamentalism actually ends up eating, just as any revolution eats its own children. Market fundamentalism has created real problems, blah, blah, blah. I know. I've heard those words. It's almost identical to what the fucking Pope had said. So much so that I thought it was actually the quote from the Pope. The Pope that just passed away. When he was governor at the BOC, he kept the reserve ratios high, more regulated so the 2008 recession didn't hit us as hard. Look, all I'm saying is that even the smartest economist, okay, even the smartest banker is still a banker. This is only causing a little bit of skepticism in me. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's as bad as PP would have been. I'm saying the exact opposite. I think it's perfectly valid to celebrate the defeat of a conservative, right? But it's still at the end of the day, banker. So excuse me for thinking maybe, being a little bit skeptical about a banker, regardless of how brilliant his banking techniques might have been at the time.
For Canada, and to criticize Trump very frankly in a way that some other leaders, such as the British leader, have not been able to. But he's got to deal with the United States. The United States takes 85% of Canada's trade. There's got to be some kind of deal. Otherwise, the economic consequences for Canada could be quite devastating.
Shatters, I will say this about Mark Carney. I look forward to being pleasantly surprised by his impact in office. I wish Canada the very best. They took an important step in moving away from being an American territory and reminded their underpants to the south of their border that they are a full-fledged nation with autonomy, with sovereignty, and that their brain rot is nowhere near as bad. And that's good. That's great. I'm excited to see what Carney does. I hope that my skepticism is completely and utterly unwarranted. Every Canadian progressive is far too libbed up right now. It's genuinely impressive. They're coconut pilled. Look, man, if Canada doesn't fix its housing problem, none of this matters. That's it. The first thing that he should be doing is to fix the housing crisis in Canada. And the only successful long-term solution for that is socialized housing. Do I suspect a banker is going to do public housing? No. Maybe he will surprise me.